Yo, yo, yo. So let's talk about this full moon in Taurus, shall we? Before I get into that, of course, if you want to book your own personal astrology reading, hit me up for that link, or it will be somewhere around this video. And of course, Higher Self Rising group coaching meets every 3 p.m. Central Time on Tuesdays if you want to help get unstuck in a group setting format. So, full moon in Taurus. Before we even get into what makes this full moon special, let's just talk the basics. Anytime I see a full moon in Taurus, I'm immediately biased towards it being a self-worth thing. It's a purge. Anything that is low quality, it's not the highest vibrational worth. When it comes to Taurus energy, we have to be in a willingness to go into these spaces of understanding that whatever it is that we're manifesting is based upon the quality of the nature of ourselves in terms of embodiment. It's not enough to know your skills, your talents, your abilities. They actually have to be physically, have effort put into them, exerted, not in like a strenuous way. That would be a little bit more Virgo, Capricorn, Earth energy, but in a way that is consistent, sustainable. There is a feminine energy to it. And so, full moons are always a time for a raise in the vibration of self-care. But really that self-care looks different every time because it's illuminating what's in the unconscious of what we may not always be privy to know is there and kind of hide in the shadows, so to speak, in that lunar energy. And so this is looking at how is it going with self-worth? How's it going with building the dream? It is a full moon that is not making the strongest aspect, but it is making sextile over to that North Node in Pisces. So it's definitely about not just seeding, but soldering and culturing and the full agricultural process of carrying out, creating the dream vision. Now, what's really interesting is that with Saturn Neptune there, it is saying, yeah, sure, those dreams are possible, but what's that ruler of Taurus? Of course, it's Venus. Where's she at? Oh, she's in Scropio now. So it doesn't come without facing the fears that are not only in the subconscious with it being Pisces energy that we've been having to face, especially where it could feel like we're maybe going in a de-evolution, whether you look into the world or the fact that Uranus is about to come back into Taurus where this full moon is happening, but we're going to have the full moon energy with Uranus still in Gemini, that somehow we're like going back into an old reality. Or the fear of that Venus in Scorpio, where it's like you got to get your hair wet. It's like me. It's like I like to try to keep my hair pretty on point, but walking along a beach setting, the wind's blowing. It's not going to be perfect. We kind of have to be okay with the aesthetics of things, not feeling the best, definitely not looking the best with that South Node in Virgo, but with Venus and Scorpio, I'd say it's definitely more about, do you really know how to push the boundaries of your body to go into those spaces, to really sit with and face those fears and almost gaze into them, gaze into the darkness, gaze into the abyss. That's what Scorpio season's all about. And of course, Scorpio season, the sun in Scorpio that helps form that full moon. It really is about transcending, these things of the limits that are more deeply hidden and internalized on an emotional front that really becomes a little bit more, you could say, nuance in the understanding of overcoming them by seeing what's coming up in the realm of relationships. Of course, Scorpio energy brings up bonds, Venus brings up relationships. So we're definitely looking at this aspect of how do we get into these better Scorpio psychological headspaces around relationships, around money, around self-worth. And I don't think that there's any specific right answer in how we do this, because Venus necessitates that we all look at our own personal values. So for anyone that's, become a shopaholic of sorts in terms of looking around for fulfillment, happiness, which direction to go in life, feeling stuck, this is a time to go, how much do you know about your core values? And if you don't know those, it's time to dig deep into where are you afraid to own that fully, that even if you're following what could seem like the crowd or a trend or the bandwagon, that you trust yourself, Venus and Scorpio, that if it ever violates your core value system that you know is a resonant frequency of truth, of love to you, that you'll know, well, that's the boundary, and to pull yourself out of it, to go, yeah, no, I don't resonate with that. I don't resonate with what you're saying about that thing with politics, or about that, subject or trend or bandwagon sort of thing that seems to bind people together in terms of frequency, because it becomes a form of frequency abandonment, of abandoning ourselves, of our values when we do this. When you look at these configurations, and it can sneak up on us, it can become very subtle. We start giving our attention and energy away to things that are fruitless, and it can become a little bit of you could say a vampire, Scorpio energy, but it's not real. It becomes more just the distractionary element of it, of where if you consistently till the farm of whatever it is that you're wanting to create dream-wise, this is where things can move. And this is also, I would call it the make or break for those people that are really wanting to innovate and go in the direction that the world is going, whether that's more around an AI tech side of things, or just sensing something that's shifting in the world long term, and an offering or a positioning or trajectory in the world that goes in rhythm with that. So that's, for the intuitives, the visionaries that realize that we're building in the now for the future, that's happening now, not waiting for it to physically be in our face. Reminds me of like a phone book. Like, do you need the old school phone book and the yellow pages to arrive at your front doorstep to tell you what's going on with tech and AI, or where the world is going, because it can seem confusing about what's really going on? I think that if you wait for something to that effect, of it all being spelled out and all listed out like some dictionary of sorts of what to connect to, it's like the phone numbers for all the connection points, well, it's too late then. So my best advice, in general, to anyone feeling stuck, stagnant, confused during this time, stop it. I think that was the Bob Hope Saturday Night Live skit. Just stop it. That'll be $10,000. Very Scorpio Taurus energy. It is a transit too, of course, it deals with the financial money part, but it's way more about the effort of the creation that we're putting in, and the money, like you'll figure it out. Like, the money is like so far down the list. Like, it's like, yes, money to make things happen, but this is not the transit to prioritize that at all. I would also say that, getting back to this whole stuck theory before I diverted, besides stop it, I mean, I'm kind of joking and kind of not, because I think in a lot of ways what this Pisces energy has really been revealing to is we're the ones putting our own tripwires up in a lot of ways for the booby traps, our triggers, our subconscious hang-ups. It's, how many chapters do we need to be like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, or the one that put up the obstacle, the brick wall, was us. It was our own imagination running away with nightmare scenarios bred from unconscious programs that, I could name them, but really they're boundless, but it could go anything from the world's ending realm, Book of Revelations, to deep subconscious past life and family stuff. We still have that square going on too between Chiron and Jupiter. So the Chiron retrograde in Aries squaring over to Jupiter, that's going to be stopping soon. So I can feel like the search continues in terms of trying to find the emotional possibilities of our life. So in a weird way, if you're searching for a vision, you're searching for more answers, don't be too over detective like for it to be on the outside, because that's the illusion. The answers are more within of like I think the hidden key of all this, if you want to go super evolutionary astrology long term, is that if you can be the wounded healer that takes what you've been through and you can infuse that healing into your own family, into your own personal life and foundation, you become a healer, guide, role model for the change that births out into the world that's more of a frequency vibration. So things become less about the externalized version of things. And so this is just another like Matrix Neo, like uploading program, learning the tools and tricks of the trade of what's coming in 2027 to be like, anything you're trying to figure out, if it's not making sense or there's a delay or if it's feeling stuck, it's because it's like you've read the whole phone book that used to come to our front doorsteps and you didn't find anything. And it's like, well, they stopped delivering that a long time ago. The answer is the synchronicities stopped getting delivered and being effective because that was all matrix-based understanding of that somehow the matrix is surrounding us when really like we're all of it. Like we're the ones trying to get free, but we're also the prison guards, right? So in terms of the 12 signs, because I did allude last week to potentially just dropping in real quick for each sign, I would say for Aries, it's definitely about the magnitude of your creations during this time. Like it's your dreams, it's your creations. What are your holdbacks, especially around your fears, relationships, money situations? You have to kind of like form a deep sense of trust in yourself that you'll figure it out, that you'll get over it. And it's not about force, because then you'll miss any spiritual lesson that you need that's meant to kind of be more peaceful warrior in the garden, as I've been calling you, and graceful like, and how you deal with those challenges. When it comes to Aries, when it comes to Taurus, this is the full moon that's in your sign. So you don't need to over purify or chuck out any more than you've already done. Like Uranus is going to come and scramble up any perfect trajectory that you had in mind anyway for yourself. So I think this is definitely about going into these directions of possibilities that deal with society, that deal with who do you want to help, what problems do you want to solve, as I've been mentioning. But I do think that you're in a position too where you have to be building bridges with others and also exploring the mirror within yourself, because the dreams and the connections and your ability to show up and have this really profound sense of creative responsibility to like really hold the line, whether people understand where you're coming from, your creations or not, kind of comes from like your relationships are going to be like the weak link. Like if you're feeling unworthy in certain partnerships, or if it feels like there's balance and disharmony in those areas, that's the perfect mirror for you to understand any potential lack of readiness, a full embodiment of your self-worth and yourself, to be able to put that out into the world. So big transit dealing with relationships with you for shizzle. Look at this. Gemini. Well, Gemini, this is you definitely dealing with some 12th house energy. So it's hard because as a Gemini, you can easily just sort of push aside the responsibilities of really looking at this. And it could be like, making excuses around, well, I don't have the time, or I don't have the energy to deal with it. I've got this and this going on, or this commitment. And you kind of have to call bullshit on it to go, no, God's calling me into being a more divine, potent creator, and that there's no rush, that you get to saunter and kind of go slow with it. Drop any FOMO in any area that deals with your commitments. Just make sure you're listening to your intuition and the divine. It's like trying to take you in a direction that, ironically, it's going to take away any stress that you're potentially feeling in terms of like your creations. If anything's feeling forced, or if any of your ideas have been feeling kind of like in this weird space of, you know, how do I get all this done? How do I manage my schedule, my time, my energy to effectively do all of it? And even if I had an extra hour in the day, do I even have the energy? I want more hours, but I only have, you know, 23 hours minus your sleep schedule energy. And so that becomes a really interesting thing, because without the understanding of what it is that you want to create that comes from the divine, it's kind of like tying your own shoestrings together. When it comes to Cancer, let's skip you, Cancer. No, I'm kidding. Hi, Cancers, I love you. This is actually coming down to people, situations that are relational for you, like trying to distinguish between like, well, who actually is my friend and who can I bring in closer, that's based upon value systems that actually make sense. And then it's not trying to like juggle so many people. It's like trying to be a juggler when it's like, you're not a juggler. You're meant to be calm, centered, chill, not frantically trying to make everything work with people situations. And so I think one of the easiest ways to clarify the values is like, do you communicate your vision to people? Like, do you take the time to educate people on what it is that you're really about in your long term? Because then you don't have to make excuses with why you need to connect or disconnect from certain people or relationships, because if you inform them of holding the integrity for your long-term boundaries of where you're going spiritually, ethically, those horizons that you're meant to communicate and even transcend your own fears of going there, then people in theory will understand, but it's only to the degree that you really believe in it yourself, because if you don't believe in it, they won't either, and then it'll feel like an excuse in a weird way. Oddly enough, this can bring up romantic situations too. So I would avoid treating relationships like there's any plagues present either in you or them. If you're not in a relationship, or that's not your priority right now, which is fine, I would look at this more as like being lion-hearted, courageous, for the understanding of what it is that you're willing to like persevere through to create. And that's always going to bring you back into the alignment and understanding of like what your long-term vision is of what you're actually wanting to do. When it comes to Leos, well, Leo, it's an interesting transit for you, because this is definitely career. Taurus is your 10th house, and so there has to be kind of like a willingness to be patient with things. Take time to grow. You can have the best ideas in the world, but you only have so much time, you only have so much proximity in terms of what you can reach. Because with Taurus being your 10th house, it's kind of like the pasture can feel small. Like there's only so many places that you could really go and reach in terms of like those limitations with things. Now, that Venus that's in Scorpio, that's in your 4th house opposing it, that ruler of Taurus. So, you know, you have to kind of like make sure that your depths of whatever's going on in your family is there. This is like making sure that there's no fears or repressions, avoidances of the true emotional connections in your family life, because that can become like the bacteria for the tree roots. I wanted to call it the plague, but I would call it like the contaminants in the soil, to where it will affect how you show up in your career, you know, if you're not fully present with it, what it is that you need to be taken care of on both the business and the family front. Now, the Pisces energy is falling into your 8th house too. So again, this is about not repressing, getting over those fears, like what's really going on with your spiritual vision, right? hopefully you're super driven, but it can seem like, again, more limitations and like, well, how do I create this? How do I make this dream come true? It's like, even if I can get over the fear, do people actually even trust me to come in? Do I have the resources to do it? And it's like, yeah, you have the resources, motherfucker, but they're very spiritual in nature. First, you have to kind of like Neville Goddard, Abraham Hicks, this shit a little bit by believing in it before it feels tangible and real, and hold that line if those fears come up. Go deeper into those fears and be more gentle with them. Now, when it comes to Virgos, Virgo, you're in an interesting position because, well, one, you're in the weird flip-flop a little bit where it's more about your relationships than where you're going. But with this full moon being in Taurus in your 9th house, this is definitely about you. Come in grips with, there's a lot to get done, but it's beautiful. You could be having like the most blessed life if you're willing to throw out the what are you doing too much of, that's low vibe, low quality, that's like, if you just kept it basic, you're like, why do I do so much of this? It's not making me happy or content. So that's like step one. And step two is just like being super basic of like, what is my day-to-day life gonna look like that I can inchworm towards, just inching a little bit at a time to get there, because your biggest problem is you feel like you're not getting anywhere because you have the vision, but it feels so far away. So you have to create more contentment and satisfaction within yourself by seeing that the day-to-day life doesn't have to be so fucking scary when you own your values and like your outlook of how you're seeing life, which is like, be Virgo, keep it basic. Like, I'm doing it, I'm going in the direction. It takes time, but even more so than time, it takes the quantum mathematics of synchronicities and divine timing and people and situations. And it's not about the perfect puzzle of like how you force that. It's more about a positive mental outlook, even when your fears come up, your triggers come up. It's about going, how do I keep like a higher minded like vision that's positive, even when it seems like there's a lot to do, because really it only becomes a struggle if you feel like you're having to be Cinderella like at the bottom again when you already like got to the end of the movie and you already like got the wishes granted. So what are you tripping out for, Virgo? Like, be content with like what you've created and the gratitude of it, and then just start inching towards the vision of what it is that you want to create next. Now, when it comes to Libras, Libra, this is definitely you in a position where you can't be scared, Libra. Whatever commitments and relationships that you've just been fumbling with, but you've been the person that's like almost like fumbling it on purpose, like tricking yourself. It's like you're still in Halloween mode, like playing trick or treat on yourself. A little dad joke for you. When you don't need to be doing that. You just really need discernment in your truth of what it is that you're feeling and how to like actually like grow a relationship, which can sound weird for you because you're like, well, of course I'm committed to my relationship. See, look at what I'm doing, or see, look what I put up with, or look how far I went. It's like, do you want some golf claps, Libra? Like, we're kind of over it. We want you to like see that it's really about your own self-recognition with what it is that you're doing, especially in your day-to-day life. It's between you and spirit, the new lifestyle that you're meant to be creating right now. And that's, it's actually a really basic one for you, Libra. It's like, get over your fears and just create your best stuff and just do it like day after day. Like, it's actually kind of nice because if you get over any stories, especially if they're sob stories of why you can't, or what thing in reality is holding you back, stop throwing in Virgo in your fucking 12th. Like, you see that you have the responsibility to make the changes, and that even if people or relationships don't want to like step up, or they say no, or they're hesitant, then do you want to tank your vibe by getting frustrated with them? Or do you want to go, okay, well, I'm not feeling like supported in the system of the flow of how I hope life would go, so hey, spirit, is this a, you know, love it, leave it, or situation? Like, do I accept it as it is, the people, and grow with them, or do I, you know, kind of put up a boundary? Do I need to manifest other people? Do I need to leave? Do they need to leave? It's not to get too complex. It's more just like an intuitive check. Like, you got to make sure you're not being a baby about anything, even if it's like by mistake, unconsciously, and you don't realize you're doing it. The simplest way is to just be like, okay, if God was my boss and he showed up right now and he was like checking on my work to see how I was doing, would you feel confident in it? Would you feel like really good and be like, yeah, check out this badass shit that I'm doing. I'm using all the skills that you gave me, God. And I'll still probably be like, well, here's one spot you could do better. Here's a little bit of blemish. And then, but you can't freak out. And you can't do that to yourself too, as a creator, and be like, well, I'm doing this and this and this, but then, oh, you're right, I see it, I fucked it up, and then you blow it out of proportion like a crazy fit. It's not doing that either, even if it's silently in the background, Libra. Scorpio. Well, Scorpios, you know, it's purging your relationship department, and it's a much needed one, because for some reason you've had the revolving door effect where you just have that thing going on in the matrix where you're like, well, maybe this time if I go eat this food, it will taste this way this time. Maybe the matrix system will change the flavor of, even though it's the exact same thing that I'm trying to go for nourishment in terms of my relationship. And it's like, well, maybe it tasted different because it was a different day, Scorpio, but it didn't taste better, did it? It tasted more bitter. And why? Because you're not getting the lesson fully. You have to show up as a harmonious diplomat in your relationships and keep an even head about things, and make sure that you're not blowing up either them or like blowing up your own personal life because of like a self-imposed boredom, when you could be creating awesome bridges and networking and taking the creations that you've been thinking of. So I understand there's some limitations, and you're creating this stuff on a day-to-day basis. That's completely fine. It's understandable. That's what you're here to be like doing right now, is, you know, more so going like in these directions of acceptance that not everything can get done at once. But, you know, you can fall in love with life again, but it's only if you wake up and thinking about the dream. Like, honestly, you really need like the dream vision, like ready to go when you wake up, so you're not just like, oh, here we go again, like sweet sleepy dwarf or something. It's like, where's the Scorpio spark at? You know, flip it. And if you're feeling that, just make sure that, you know, you're not the rocket ship that's going too far off in the wrong direction with excitement, and it just became about excitement when really it wasn't really the long-term vision. It doesn't like really make sense. So don't beat yourself up if you're like, shit, I went 1,000 miles seemingly subconsciously in the wrong direction. I got to turn around. It's like, well, no, get the lesson, you know, accept where you're at, slow it down for a minute, Scorpio, and then when you find that spark of passion again and blast off, be like, you know, this is making my heart just beat like just so fucking divine masculine, divine feminine, like regal energy of like, fuck yes, like this is my satisfaction in life. When it comes to Sagittarius, I had to stop and pause for a second. You know, I'm actually impressing myself, if I'm being really honest and vulnerable, of like the math in my head of the charts, you know, just the way the house system works for the different signs and going doot. But I did kind of like have to pause for a second and think about you, Sag, because, you know, let's see, we're Taurus full moon, so this is your 6th house. Yeah. So you're in a position, Taurus, where, or excuse me, Sag, yeah, I've not had a ton of sleep on this trip I'm on. Well, I'm not going to edit this. It's staying raw. Sag, so your day-to-day life, what it comes down to is that you're in a position where you're meant to be releasing very gently, letting go of the stressors, but it's not the thing that's stressing you out. It's your mindset around it. You're calling too many things low vibe that are actually meant to be alchemized. There's too much judgment, there's too much criticism. You need to see the divine holiness in everything that's coming in that you're creating, that like your dreams can actually be sensed and felt more close if you're willing to see beyond the veil of the illusion that you're creating, that anything sucks in your day-to-day reality right now where it's not. So it's one of those things where if you can be majestic in your approach to your life with the enchantment of understanding everything is like there for your alchemical process, your own wizardry, life becomes that much better. Like it doesn't have to be this knockdown, like drag out like war, especially South Node and Virgo in your 10th of like every little thing is a challenge or a hardship. All this Pisces energy making aspects to that moon in your 4th house is saying like, it's okay, chill, like take your time, take care of your emotions, take care of your family, like be just like very, almost like majestic mother hen, like whether you're a man or a woman, you know, just like the empathetic compassion for all the things that are coming up. And it might be weird because there could be layers to the psyche. It's like, no, that means I'm letting in low vibe shit. It's like, no. The low vibe shit was already coming in from something you already created months ago. Or years, or a lifetime ago before you came into this life. That's okay. It's not bucking responsibility. It's not you saying everything happens for a reason, because that's the bypass. It's you saying, oh cool, this thing showed up, and you know, almost like kind of laughing about it, like trying to make it seem positive when you know your first instinct is for it not to be, but take a breath and go, okay, well, it is showing up for a reason, and the season is a deeper understanding in your emotional realm. Do you know how to handle the chaos resiliency of the threat to, dare I say, your central nervous system if all your dreams actually came true? That's what it's teaching you. Capricorn. Well, Capricorn's really cool full moon for you because you're getting ready for a deep heart release. This one hits depending on the level of how much have you been holding yourself back. You could say romance, inner child, playfulness, creativity, any place as Capricorn, the more that you've taken things like really seriously and maybe avoided these issues around these areas. I mean, you're going to kind of get the thump from Uranus when it comes back, but I wouldn't freak out because there are people in the world that are there to support you, like through any like hardships, but it can also be like the hardships, making sure you're not trying to like reinforce to people like some self-worth issue that you're re-injuring yourself by like doubling down on like, you know, I can't move into my future because I'm stuck because of this thing and this thing and this thing. And it's like, okay, sure, yeah, because that's what you're manifesting. That's not what your heart's saying. That's really what your kind of fears around the what if factor is going, of expecting things to come crashing down when anything that was meant to crash down already happened between 2008 and last year with Pluto in your sign. So you're kind of getting the godsend actually, where it's kind of like you're free, Capricorn. Like there's freedom to create. It's like Mel Gibson's got the freedom to create, you know, a couple like a sequel, like 2 movies of a sequel to The Passion of the Christ. He's a Capricorn, so it's like, you know, maybe fucking Tiger Woods will figure something out. Like he'll, you know, be like, oh, I am free to not keep beating myself up that I fucked all those hookers and that I started sucking at golf and really I was only good because he kind of was getting a little bit lucky. there's a fucking trigger alert for people. Probably not anyone watching this, but anyone that thinks Tiger Woods was the greatest, there was a lot of luck involved, to be honest. And that's a whole nother story. But Capricorns are getting the opportunity to go, well, you know, you can go in a direction that feels a little bit more boundless, like, but it's only really your mind holding you back, because you're expecting disappointment, you're expecting failure, you're, you know, expecting things to go bad. And the irony is the only things that are really going bad at this point, for the most part, is where you sit too idle, and idle hands become the devil's playground. And so things fall apart because you're not paying attention, because you're like loathing or self-loathing something that is like a reverse manifestation, that you think that you need to beat yourself up that you're not doing better, when really if you just stay busy and pay attention, like, you'll be okay. Because even though Uranus is leaving your 6th in Gemini, we're still getting this full moon cycle with it there, so it's still going to be very much part of your, especially personal life. So when it comes to Aquarius, the Aquas, this is you kind of coming to grips with the reality that, if you haven't already, the Pluto's not going anywhere anytime soon, and that's fine. So it kind of becomes down to this thing of going, well, I'm an Aquarius. I'm meant to show the world where to go, but I'm unsure of where the world's going. It's a big fucking fat mystery. It's like a mystery paycheck. Am I going to get paid a penny for all my efforts, or am I going to get rewarded $1 million for all this transformation work? Who knows? The world's going to look very different by the time Pluto's out of your sign. Of course, I'm talking about that a lot because with Venus, the ruler of this full moon, that's in Scorpio, that's Pluto ruled, and that being in your sign, this is a lot of like the personal transformation element of things. You're in a spot where if you can make sure that you're not taking things like too personal while being personable, like to your relationships and people, I think you'll be okay. It's just you can't go in a direction for your long term that's not really seated in the true roots of the possibilities of what it is that you really value, meaning that it's like, well, wait, which direction do I go? Am I going in the right direction? Do I hold the line? Is it making me happy? And it's like, shut the fuck up for a second, Aquarius. Like, you're telling yourself some bullshit because you're doing like a Mad Hatter thing to yourself a little bit, and it's not just like at the weird table in the subconscious mind in Alice in Wonderland where it's safe to play out these scenarios. It's like sometimes people are like, are you okay? You know? And so where you're okay is like when you have your foundation like super fucking sturdy and strong underneath of you, to where it's not even a need for chaos resiliency, because the chaos only happens when you resist the transformation of things. So what if your ultimate goal, your big long-term objective that normally maybe you'd want to identify right now as like a career and trying to like make like a limp noodle, or like a, you know, like fucking wilted branch that's all squiggly and doesn't have any like sturdiness to it, and you're trying to make that into a tree of life, when it's like, meet your own needs, take care of you. It's a long-term thing. What if the goal was just for you to hang in there? And I know that might suck, because it's like, that's the horoscope, I just got to hang in there and keep being like the whipping boy or girl, like for harshness from Pluto or life. And it's like, no, this is teaching you how to like go back to the basics, to like love more deeply, which can be weird as an Aquarius, because, you know, you're the sign that gets the rap as being more detached and a little bit more ET alien-like. So what if this is teaching you to actually be human? What if it's teaching you to be okay with not having all the crazy existential esoteric answers to life, and connecting all the crazy dots where you're just like, maybe that's what you're meant to role model during this phase. It's just for people like, here's how it's okay to just like humanize things where there can be uncertainty. And so the challenge really just becomes the softening of being okay with that, and definitely not in a self-defeat way. That's not what I'm talking about, but in a way that takes really good care of you so that you go in a position where, like, not that a nothing matters like effect if it goes bad, because I don't want you to become like the guy in Office Space that gets like hypnotized and nothing bothers them until everything's falling apart, you know, and it's like, oh shit, we embezzled that money and mistakes and all this is happening, like I'm going to jail type effect, because it like feel that way. Like if you're not rooted and paying attention into things, it's more so like, how do you just go, okay, let me just pay attention, let me just make sure that I'm being good in my relationships and good with my money. Oh, there it is. Like I'm just coming back to the basics of just being in a physical reality, like money, relationships, you know, it could be things like meal prep, like if you go to the gym, like, you know, just building out your life to where you have structures and supports that you value so that you can hold yourself when you're feeling like, oh, I gotta like keep going with this thing. So you'll be okay, Aquarius. It's just, it's really kind of how you look at it. Pisces. So Pisces, this is an opportunity for you to kind of like cut out the BS in the mind, if you're having that right now, to kind of go, wait, what's my long-term vision? Do you have one? Are you afraid of that long-term vision? Have you been pushing that aside because it's going to mean you're going to have to like look at where maybe at times you could feel like you're regressing or you're stalling or you're delaying because you're like waiting for like the lottery ticket from like God or something to be like, you won the lottery, the work's over. And even then you still like wouldn't believe in it fully because like expecting to be burned. So I think you need to start actually, believe it or not, creating an expectation on a belief system that things are going to go well. Because at least then if it doesn't go well, you can be kind of like neutral and go, I'm not abandoning my faith that life is going to get better or that, you know, life is happening for my benefit fully. But let me look at the lesson here to see where can I be a better creator if it's like not going to my liking, as opposed to like, oh, there it is, you know, like whoop, there it is. There's why that thing with that relationship or that money thing or that little stupid ass trigger that, you know, is ruining the quality of the outlook of the worth of life and reality, and going, well, actually things are great, and you can see the really great zone of consciousness in yourself of like the chaos resiliency of like any confusion that ever comes up about your next steps or your long term, simply by having like that sort of attitude that I'm describing in life. I would pay attention especially to your thoughts, your beliefs around money, and then relationships also, or even just trying to like overly strategize in your mind how to get like your passion projects done or like the other things that you want to make quality room for, because it's really more like a use it or lose it. Like if you have some space in your day, what I would say not to do is be like, well, I'm tired, or well, I promised this person this thing, or I got to go do this. And it's like, hang on a second. Maybe that thing makes sense during a busier part of your day where you already have shit going on, and maybe you need more blocks of time to actually do the things that you love, that you're wanting to grow and expand and explore more. So appreciate everyone. Happy full moon in Taurus. Catch you next time.